looking over New York City, we can see a lot of things, a little bit of Jersey, all this sorts of stuff. So I'm going to do a city pulse and tell you about it. Okay, that's what we call this big radio screens. I can show you New York of yesterday, New York of today, and I can also tell you stories. All right, these stories, they can take place at any hour of the day as I navigate through our city streets. So we always start by getting our bearings. Now we can see actually 2 of our 5 boroughs. We've got 2 states here too. It's pretty cool. We're here in Lower Manhattan. We're on the island of Manhattan, and Manhattan is one of our 5 boroughs, the 5 counties that make up the city of New York. New York City started downtown. This is the oldest part of New York City, and then grew up the island. And we're at One World Trade Center, which is right next to the financial district.
Horizontal.
We're below Tribeca, we're next to the financial district, okay, and we're right at the tip of Lower Manhattan. Right here, right now, you are 1,254 feet up. Since the clouds are at about 800, 900 feet, that's why we don't see so much, because they're really just blocking all the view further down. We're literally in the clouds right now. We're right next to the 9/11 Memorial, and we are part of the rebuilt World Trade Center. And I'll tell you more about that in just a few minutes. But let's start with our island. So Manhattan Island is the original New York City. The name Manhattan comes from the Native Americans who lived here first. They called it Mannahatta. Okay, Mannahatta, if it's the word Manhattan, they call themselves Lenape. All right, the Lenni Lenape, the whole area was known as Lenapehoking. Okay, and they lived here for centuries. It's around 400 years ago when the Dutch settled, and they built a trading post that they called New Amsterdam. That becomes New York under the British, and then New York City was the first capital of the United States, and it grew from a southern tip going up the island. So filling the island up and filling the island out. Okay, Manhattan's a lot wider than that original Mannahatta. So where we are right now, 400 years ago, it would have been in the Hudson River. Okay? Then, 1898, we got the 4 more parts to make those 5 boroughs. Manhattan, the Bronx, Queens, Brooklyn, and Staten Island. Okay? So, limited view, but you can barely see out in the distance, barely make out the clouds, then a little bit, there's a bridge way, way, way out there. That's the Verrazano Narrows Bridge, which connects Brooklyn and Staten Island. Staten Island is all the way across the harbor. Really can't see it. You maybe just make out the shoreline in the distance, about 5 miles away across New York Harbor. You can get there with the famous Staten Island Ferry, which is free. All right, if you don't have a car to drive out to Staten Island, take the ferry. It's free. It runs 24 hours a day. It's going to be wet out there, but you can still take a ride on the ferry anytime, day or night. So the bridge goes from Staten Island into Brooklyn, and we can see Brooklyn now, that tall tower out there. Yes, it looks rather like Mordor. That's the Brooklyn Tower, okay? It's a brand new apartment and commercial real estate building. It's finished, about a year ago, all right? So it's part of all these great big super tall skyscrapers, and that's downtown Brooklyn. Most of Brooklyn's kind of spreading out. And the Brooklyn Bridge, I promise you, it's over there under the clouds, the Brooklyn Bridge, once the tallest and the longest suspension bridge in the world. All right, when the bridge was completed 141 years ago, back in 1883. So that's Brooklyn out across the East River, because over there you've got the East River. So that's Brooklyn right there. Now further in the distance, behind Brooklyn, we're not going to see that today, is Queens. Queens is our largest borough. And that's why they put both New York State airports in Queens. So if you landed at LaGuardia or JFK, you've been to Queens. Okay, and Queens is where you're going to find the New York Mets, one of our baseball teams, and the US Open tennis tournament. Okay, those are played out in Queens, which is sort of a little bit that way, but more sort of wrapping around behind Brooklyn to the north and to the east. Now our 5th and final borough is the Bronx. We are not going to see the Bronx today because it's much, much further north, about 6, 7 miles to our north. So on the other side of the observatory, if you can see the Empire State Building, the tall buildings of Midtown, looking behind them and beyond, you're looking up into the Bronx, where you'll find Yankee Stadium. The New York Yankees, our other baseball team, they play in the Bronx. That's why we call them the Bronx Bombers. On the Bronx Zoo, the New York Botanical Garden. Really fun neighborhoods in the Bronx. Well, really in every borough. Every borough has something special to see, something special to offer. Now, if you were to go out to your right, you're looking west, you look out to your right is west, and that's the Hudson River. So going out there, you're heading to another state. And here we're looking at Jersey City. We can just see the shoreline of the Hudson. On the other side of that is Jersey City, New Jersey, okay? Further in the distance is Newark. We've got Liberty State Park and the beautiful old railroad terminal in Ellis Island, and in the distance you can see the big cranes of the Port of New York. I always think they look like dinosaurs, like way out there in the clouds. Kind of cool. That's the port out there, okay? So this is where we are. We've got Jersey and the Hudson River to your right. We've got the East River and Brooklyn and Queens to your left. We've got the harbor right behind me, Staten Island in the distance. Oh, there's a Staten Island ferry, the big orange ferry boat. They leave on the hour and on the half hour, more or less. A little less frequently on the weekends and off-peak times, but that's the ferry. Oh, and that island right there is called Governor's Island. That used to be a military base. Now it's a park, okay? So we know where we are. Let's dig a little deeper, because I've got a lot I can talk about. All these different ways we can look at New York. So hold on, I'm gonna check the view just for a second, see how we're doing. Yeah, you can see the memorial really well. So I'm gonna talk about what was here before and what's here today, okay? And the heart of the new Trade Center is the 9/11 Memorial. So we're gonna start with our history section. I'm going to start with New York back in the day. This is New York in the 1850s, right? Before we had the 5 boroughs, okay? Before we had the Brooklyn Bridge or the Statue of Liberty or any of that. And look at all of the ships. Because New York City is a seaport. That's why we're here, because of the shipping, which is all the way out there in the distance now. But for centuries, it was around the island of Manhattan, which is why downtown is where you have the financial district. So looking out the windows to your left, the building with a bright green roof out there, that is on Wall Street. Wall Street is diagonally across from us, maybe a 15-minute walk from here. Here's a little tip about Wall Street. Now, you cannot go in to see the Stock Exchange building. You can see it from the outside, it's all lit up. And right there on Broad Street, so right in front of the Stock Exchange building, you find a beautiful Christmas tree. They've been doing a Christmas tree at Wall Street for over a century. It's maybe a little, I think it's maybe 6 feet shorter than the Rockefeller Center tree, which still means it is ginormous. And unlike Rockefeller Center, because I've got a bone to pick with them, you get up close to it. All right? I'm a New Yorker. I've been going under the Rockefeller Center tree literally since I was teeny tiny. All right, and it cheeses me off that I can't do that anymore. I can't bring my kids. I mean, they're 25 and 22. They've seen it plenty of times. But anyway, we go to the Wall Street tree, 15 minutes away from here. Don't tell anybody else. I'll keep telling people. It's a beautiful tree. You're right underneath it. And the lights blink, and they're big ornaments. Anyway, the financial district is there. We're next to it. Okay, the World Trade Center was built next to the financial district. Started in 1966, completed 74. Now, here's our tower. We're part of that rebuilding because everything was destroyed on September 11th. And there were 7 buildings at the original Trade Center, not just the Twin Towers. So looking down and looking next to us, you see the 2 fountains that are exactly where the Twin Towers stood. We're on the northwest corner of the site where Building 6 used to stand. And we have our memory, our memorial, literally built right in. So you can see that dark section between the 2 lit up parts, that's where we are right now. The lit up parts that are above and below the levels of the observatory are for mechanical floors to run this tower. All the HVAC systems, right? The elevators, all of that kind of stuff. So that's above us and below us. So that's where we are right now. Then you see the flat roof with the ring and the spire. It is not an antenna. Okay, antennas are added to buildings when they're done. A spire is part of the architecture. So it counts for the total height of our building, total height of One World Trade to the top of our spire, 541 meters. Now, why that height? Because 541 meters is equal to 1,776 feet. So our total height is the number 1776. 1776, year of the Declaration of Independence. All right, so we've got that cool symbolism in it. The building ends lower down, and that's because the height of One World Trade to the roof line is the same height as the original One World Trade Center. All right, that was 1,368 feet. So we're the tallest in the Western Hemisphere because of our spire. Like the Chrysler Building has the needle that was added to the top of the building to make sure it was the tallest in the world. Sorry, the voices come down from up at the balcony, so it does get a little noisy. All right, so, but keep in mind, that's not an antenna. The spire counts for the height of our building. 1776, and then the height to the roof line plus our footprint match the roof line and footprint of one of the original Twin Towers. So that's what I mean when I say we've got the memory built right in. Now, construction on this tower took 8 years. It opened for business back in 2014, in the fall of 2014. So it's been 10 years that the One World Trade Center has been open as an office tower. The observatory has been open for 9.5 years. We opened in May of 2015, and in that time, we've had over 13.5 million visitors from all around the world. And we're part of the rebuilding of the entire site. So looking out the windows, you can see across from us in the clouds, 2 more buildings, one with big triangular terrace on top. All right, that is 4 World Trade Center. And building 4 opened in 2013. All right, next to that, you've got 3 World Trade, which opened in 2018. And next to that, you'll see the Oculus. That's that big, white, spiky structure. On a rainy day like today, the Oculus is very handy because it connects everything together, connects you to the PATH trains to New Jersey, the public transportation, beautiful shopping mall inside there. So you go wherever you need to go, going underneath and through the Oculus. Now right next to it, you'll see an open area. All right, you'll notice there's no tall building there. And when you're on street level, you'll see a low building with all the murals on it. All right, that is where they're going to build a 2 World Trade Center. We've got 1 more tall building to go up on this site. It has not been built yet, okay? Because they don't have tenants that need a big office tower, okay? You have to think, if you're going to build a multi-billion-dollar tower, this cost almost $4 billion to build, all right? You can't build it unless you know that you're gonna have somebody who's going to use the building. I mean, you could, but that's a huge, huge financial risk. Because if you build a $2 billion tower and nobody uses it, you're going to be spending millions of dollars, literally millions of dollars a year to maintain it, so they're waiting to build it, okay? Again, it's just commercial real estate, so that's fine. It hasn't been built yet. We've got the Performing Arts Center right next to us. Behind us, 7 World Trade, the location of the original building, 7. And then on the south side of the memorial, you'll notice a little white domed building. That is called St. Nicholas. It's a Greek Orthodox church. St. Nicholas was built to replace a church that was destroyed on September 11th. So you can go into the church. It is absolutely beautiful. St. Nicholas, St. Paul's, Trinity Church, they're all wonderful religious sites that are really important and beautiful to visit. But anyway, St. Nick's, what I like about it, besides the church itself, which is lovely, is it's on a raised platform, okay? That's called Liberty Park because the street right there in front is Liberty Street. And when you're up on that platform, you get a great view over the entire World Trade Center site, okay? You can really see everything. So I always recommend to guests to go there to get a good view over the site. Now the museum and memorial are right next to us. They are separate from us. The museum is a separate admission. Check the hours and get your tickets ahead of time. It's the holiday season. We're very, very crowded throughout the 5 boroughs, okay? Throughout New York City. Downtown, not too bad compared to other parts of the city, all right? But get your tickets ahead of time for the memorial. Give yourself enough, for the museum, excuse me, give yourself enough time to visit. The memorial's open every day for free, okay? So you don't need to worry about that. You can walk around and see the space. If the fountains are off, it's usually because of weather. Because if it's very windy, the spray comes up off the fountains and it gets a little uncomfortable, but it gets even wetter than usual because today's a very wet day anyway. So the fountains and the Memorial Plaza, those are open every day for free. Make sure you visit, please pay your respects. And when you see the fountains, if you notice any name has a white rose, it is that person's birthday. They have a list of birthdays. Everyone gets a fresh white rose on their birthday, all right? So that's a bit about the site. That's a little bit about our city. But there is a lot out there. Yes, it's all under the clouds right now, but there's still a lot to see and a lot to do. New York City is one of the most dynamic, one of the most diverse cities in the world, mostly because of all the New Yorkers who live here. 8.6 million people from across the globe live in our 5 boroughs, and then every year we get over 60 million visitors. It's no wonder we're called the city that never sleeps. So today, I hope you'll be inspired by your time with us. I hope you keep on exploring New York. You get to know some New Yorkers and make New York story part of your story. So if you have any questions, feel free to speak to me. Otherwise, thanks so much for listening. Happy holidays, everyone. Enjoy your stay in New York City. Thank you very much. Thank you.